Hello, welcome to another episode of Building Your HDB. Let's go through a few checklists first before we start. We did this in the last episode, but let's double check. Go to Edit, Preference, Add-ons, search for Bool in the top here if you haven't already, and just make sure Bool tool is turned on. We didn't actually use it in the last episode, but we will be using it quite a bit now. Secondly, make sure you check your sort of scene properties here. Remember the party hat with the monocle? Make sure your length is still in millimeters if it hasn't been done so yet. Make sure everything in your scene is named. So double check here, everything's got a name. It just makes the process a bit easier later on if you need to change things about. Make sure everything's in scale. So press H, select everything, Control A, apply scale. I've not enabled my screencast keys yet, so you can't see what I'm pressing. There we go, that works. And lastly, when it comes to the scene, remember we've sort of made a couple. We've got building blocks, we've got scene. And remember to make sure your building blocks one is selected, so we're adding things into the right collection. And for those who don't remember, this was our little measurement block that we used last week so that we can just double check that things are in the right place when it's not attached to corners, and you can just change the measurement of this as you see fit. I've moved this over to the scene. If you need to, you can just sort of click and drag and move it wherever you need to. So we don't need this, we don't need the lights, we don't need the camera. Let's select everything and press H to hide them. First things first, let's build some doors for our scene. And I think HDB doesn't actually have measurements for the doors here, and you can roughly follow it by just looking at the Y and the X axis here, but you don't know how tall it should be. So we could do a quick search. Here go BTO door dimensions, and they've got it in, different units. Let's just use this one, 915 for the width and 2130 for the height. So Z, go to solid mode, make sure we're in building blocks. Let's press Shift A to add things, go to the mesh and select the cube. Now with the cube, let's bring it up. And remember, you can either press G and Z to bring it up or use these arrows. If you don't see the arrows, just come up here to the scene overlays. Oh, sorry, no, it's this one with the little bow and arrow and click move. So anything that is an active object, you'll see the arrows which you can move along with. Let's press N to go to the tab menus. Go to item, and let's just change the measurement over here. What was it again? So it was 915 by 2130. Let's do that. 915, oops, wrong button, by 2130. Let's just make the y-axis 915 as well, so we're not always having to rotate the door. And there we go. So this isn't going to be the door itself. We're going to use this to cut our doors open. Let's bring it to the floor, so let's snap it to face. Select your little door cutter, press G to move it, and snap it to the floor. Okay, let's Control A, apply scale. I see a problem. I think last week we didn't actually set the height for HDB, so it should all be 2600, so everything looks a little short. Okay, let's try and fix that now. So 2600. Sorry about that. We should have done this last week, but we didn't quite think of the height. Why 2600? I think I checked a few places on the internet, and it seems to be the standard height. But if you've got the actual measurement for your own place, that's fantastic. Just use that instead. 2600. Now let's select everything, G, Z, just so we're moving it on the Z axis and nothing else, and snap it. There we go. Sorry folks, so this is how we troubleshoot as we try and make things. Okay, so what we're going to do is let's move this, turn off the snapping, move the door. This is our bomb shelter, remember? And move it in to roughly where we want the door to be. Don't worry about making it too exact. So here's the steps that we're going to do. Right. Before that, just so we're not repeating the same steps again, let's Shift D to duplicate this door, move it over to the side, and this will just be, let's rename this to door cutter, so it's easy to know. And let's move that to scene. So if you ever need it again, you can just sort of duplicate this and sort of just make more copies. We'll hide that for now. Okay, so select the door. The order of this matters. So select this door cutter first, Shift left click your bomb shelter. So remember how earlier I said to enable bool tool? If you had done that, then when you open the shortcut menu, either by pressing this arrow here or pressing the N key, you can go down to Edit, and you'll see something here called bool tool. Press the down arrow, and we're going to ignore anything under auto boolean. We're going to use brush boolean, and we're going to select difference. Again, make sure you select the door first, and then the bomb shelter. Click difference, and look at that. You've now got a door. So the nice thing about bool tool is, if at some point maybe you're doing a renovation or you want to change something about it, you can always select this cube which you use to cut the door, and you can change it, and the door changes along with it as well. So you can change the size, you can just change it on the y-axis, changing on x-axis isn't much, on the z-axis, and that changes the door as well. If you're at the end of the process, then we can apply everything. But otherwise, if you select the thing that was cut, which is the bomb shelter in this place, and you check the spanner, you'll see a new modifier there called bool tool. So the add-on basically just does all these little options for you automatically, and it makes it a bit easier. And the reason we don't use this auto boolean is, if I use this and select difference, you'll get the same result, but it sort of commits the bool. So you can't then change it around as you need to. But we can, so that's great. So let's carry on. Let's go up here to the z-axis, and with this selected, let's press, oh, okay. My memory is really bad today. So another thing we should probably do is, you've got your little door cutter selected, select your bomb shelter, press Ctrl P, and it sets the parent to object. So what this does is, if you, for some reason, ever need to move any of the rooms around, when you move it, it sort of brings the bool tool along with it. Otherwise, I'll just move the bomb shelter, but not the bool tool. And if you look in your scene menu here with household shelter, this is why it's good to have things labeled. If you press the down arrow, you'll see your little bool tool here. Let's just rename this as well. So we'll say shelter door. Great. Okay, so now let's do everything else. So with your little shelter door bool tool selected, let's press Shift D from the top view, so you're not moving it on the z-axis. Let's move it to bedroom 2, Shift D, let's move it to here. And you'll probably see little lines coming out. It's because it's these two things are still parented. That's Alt P, clear parent. And, just select this. And let's just continue going, select wireframe, Shift D, put the door cutter wherever you think you need one. And is that about it? Oh, no, we need one for the front door as well. Okay, let's see how that works. So go back to solid view, and we'll do the same steps again. So select the cube, select the room. With edit mode in bool tool selected, you can press the N key if you don't see it. Select difference. Since it's both already selected, if it's not, you can select again, select the both of them, Ctrl P, set parent, select the cube, select the toilet, boolean, Ctrl P, set parent, cube, wall, difference, parent, cube, wall, difference, Ctrl P, parent. And last one, cube, wall, boolean difference, Ctrl P, parent. And just like that, you've got all the doors made for your HDB. Like I mentioned, if you wanted to, you can also sort of just rename all the different doors here. So something like this would be main door. Sure, why not? if you can't remember what the names of the rooms are, you can just press Z, go to wireframe, and just name it based on however you've named everything else. So I won't do it for now, but you should name everything. And I'll just turn the scene back on here. Let's press the little eyeball. So I have this here just in case you have another floor you want to do, or if you want to change things around, you've already got something here with the right measurement, so you can always Shift D this and bring it somewhere else just in case you need it. Let's do the same process and make windows as well. So let's Shift D to duplicate this, move it to the side. I couldn't really find standard measurements for it, so let's just, I don't know, let's just guess at what we think it should be. We'll bring it to where we think a window should be. Scale it up a bit. Does that look reasonable? That seems like a reasonable size for a window. Make it a bit thinner. Okay, that's fine. Let's move it here. So we can look at our wireframe and find out where our windows are. If you see a little sort of box with a line in it, that's going to be one of your typical sliding windows, I believe. And okay, let's just try and bring windows wherever we see them. So Shift D to duplicate our window cutter. Bring it here. Let's do a quick test to make sure that works. So select the window cutter, select our living room, brush boolean difference, and there you go. If you don't like it, you could always shift it around. If you want a double window situation, you can just put it there, make it weirdly asymmetrical, do that. It's up to you. Depends on how your house looks like, I guess. Let's Control Z everything. And before we forget, let's parent it as well so that both the window and the door is sort of linked to the room. Where were we? Let's see. Okay, great. So let's select this, Shift D, move it here. Let's also press Alt P to clear the parent. Should we just follow the length here? Yeah, why not? Let's do this. Great. So Shift D, we'll put one here. Shift D, this looks like a window. You can press R to rotate and we'll lock it on the Z axis, so it's only moving like that. Imagine a pin going through, and we want to turn it 90 degrees, so you can just press R to rotate, Z to lock on the Z axis, 90 to turn it 90 degrees. Check from the top. Sure, that seems about right. Where else are there windows? Service yard is going to have one. Let's Shift D to duplicate that, bring it here. S to scale, Y to lock it to the Y axis. Maybe it's probably a bit smaller for the service yard. Let's say maybe it's about that big. That seems fine. And lastly, there's a toilet as well, but perhaps we will do that last. Let's do the other rooms first. So, difference and parent. Difference, parent. Oops, that's the wrong way around. Difference, parent. And lastly, let's difference and parent. Let's go back to our little view. It looks like there's one window over here and one over here. They're both facing the aircon ledge. Okay, great. Let's make that then. So let's select this. Shift D to duplicate. Move it on the x-axis. Let's clear the parent, so Alt P to clear parent. Let's scale it down on the y-axis, and I think probably have to scale it down on the z-axis as well. Move it in, and let's try and position it properly. Go to the top view. This is roughly about here, perhaps. Does that seem sensible? Yeah, sure, why not? It's a bit smaller than that, so let's scale it on the x-axis, move it here, Shift D, grab the G, X to move it on the x-axis, let's move it here. And yeah, it's a bit long, so maybe we will scale it on the Z as well. Let's do that. And let's scale Z. Yep, Okay, let's see if this works. Difference. Parent. What do we want? Difference. Parent. All right, I'm going to save my project for now. So let's save as. If you don't want to overwrite what you already have done so far, just so you can have copies to go back to, press the plus here, just adds a number 1, save as. Great. And with that, I think we are done. So let's select all of this, press H to hide. Oops, we've accidentally selected our floor as well. Come back. Why do we have 2 of this? Let's delete this. And there you go. So you've sort of got your BTO with windows and doors and things. And I think we'll just do a little bonus thing for now. Someone asked in the comments about what should I do if I have either a landed property or multi-story house, that sort of thing. Okay, that's fine. Let's maybe do something like that. So say, for example, you have a multi-story house. I'm going to pretend the second story is exactly the same as the first, so we'll duplicate this. So if you have multiple stories, I probably suggest you just make it, don't put it on the top first, just make it anywhere else, and just on the same plane as this, create a second floor, see what it's supposed to look like. And whenever you're done, you can just sort of bring it here, just snap it to the edge and then move it up and down, snap it to the top, that sort of thing. And then there you go, you've got like a 2-story house. And the second thing, of course, would be stairs. How do I make stairs? Let's try and quickly make one now. So this BTO is fairly small. I don't think we've got space for it. So let's select this, press H to hide, and let's try and quickly make some stairs. So if you press Shift A to add something and go to cube, let's bring our cube up. Whoa, where are you going, cube? Let's bring it here. So let's make a step. We'll do it step by step. Scale on the y-axis, scale on the x-axis. Does that seem reasonable? Sure. Let's snap it to the floor. And let's select this, press H to hide. Okay, so there's actually a few ways we can create our stairs. If I go to the side view and I move it here, so let's just pretend that that there are no walls here. We can either press Shift D to duplicate this and sort of put it roughly where you want. And the command Shift R duplicates the last action. So if you just, ooh, that's the wrong place. What happened there? Side view, Shift D. Oh, it's got snapping is on. All right, let's do that again. Let's turn off the snapping, move it to the back, live show, folks. Shift D, move it up here. It kept snapping to the wall earlier. And if you press Shift R, it just duplicates the last action, so you can just keep making stairs. The problem with that, of course, is you're going to get a whole array of just cubes, unnamed cubes over here, and that's going to be a bit annoying. So let's do this in a more efficient way. We'll just make one, we'll call it stair. And if you go to the wrench icon here with your little stair selected, and you select Add Modifier, click Array. So this just makes a duplicate of the object that you have. And you can probably see from here that we want the object to be on the y-axis. So in front of this, and we want it to be above it. So we want to change numbers on the y-axis and the z-axis, but it should be the same on the x-axis. So factor x, let's change it to 0. Y, let's just see. So click and drag, maybe somewhere around there. Let's just do -1. And z as well. How does that look? 1. Great, so you've got 2 stairs and you can just add to the count. There you go. So another thing we can do is, let's maybe make this look a bit nicer. Let's bring this in a little bit so it's overlapping. And look at that, you've made stairs. Remember, this modifier is really just only well, it's telling this single stair to duplicate itself. So if you really need to change anything, just select that one stair, go to edit mode, and anything that you change here changes all the other stairs as well. So it's a great way to just save memory and also just you know, save yourself from having to have multiple different things on your center over here, your viewport. Man, I've lost the ability to speak today. I'm sorry about that. There's something else we could do. Say okay, I'm just going to delete this. I'm going to save. What if you have a spiral staircase? Let's just work on this, and I'll show you what you could do. So let's make this into a stair again. Let's just scale it on whichever axis that you want. Does that look okay? Yeah, okay. So let's make the array again. We're going to bring it up, and we won't change it too much for now. So there's a few ways we can go about this. I'd probably say the easiest way is to Shift A, add an empty. So an empty is basically an object that doesn't get rendered. It's just something you use to inform another object's scale, rotation, that sort of thing. You can choose any one you want. Let's just say plain axis. So this is an empty object. And we'll go back to the first cube, and in the offset, we'll select object offset. And the object that we want is, you can either click here and look for it, which can take a while, or select the eyedropper tool, select your empty. There you go. The size is going to change. Remember, select everything, Control A, apply scale, and the scale goes back to normal. So what happens is, let's add a few more iterations here. Anytime you change this object, if you rotate it, if you change the scale, that sort of thing, it changes everything here as well. And that is precisely what we want. So let's try and offset our object a bit. Let's take this and let's start rotating it on the z-axis. And look, you started to make yourself your own curly stairs. Let's bring this back. Oh, everything's moving. So if you're going to move it, move both of it together. Take this, let's take the empty, bring it here. Let's bring it to the point where the stair looks all right. And if this first stair looks like it's not facing the right direction, you can rotate this first. Let's rotate on the z-axis. Find the spot that you think it should be facing. Let's say you want it like this. And after that, we can adjust the rotation with this empty. So rotate z. Let's say you want it something like that. And we want this to have more iterations. And we want it closer as well. There you go. Obviously, it doesn't fit my HDB, it doesn't have space for it. So this is just for anyone who actually needs to make spirally stairway. Let's delete all of this. I shouldn't have deleted that. Let's delete the rest. And there you go. If you've hidden any object, you can press Alternate H to bring everything back. And so for today, we've created doors, we've created windows. For those who need it, we've created stairs. So next episode, we'll probably start adding a few different objects to the house, and maybe we'll add some textures as well. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.